Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm very excited that you're here with me today because I'm going to finally be sharing about my Bali adventures this past summer. And I went there to this beautiful island, Bali, Indonesia, to get my 200-hour yoga certification. And here she is in all her glory. I went to the House of Om in Amertham, and my training was from June 17th, 2024 to July 6th, 2024. And I actually spent my 28th birthday here. It was a birthday to remember. And this is an experience that I will truly never forget. It really encoded me and changed me from within. I left a completely different woman than I was. The energy there, the presence, the traditions, the cultures, the people that I met, it truly was just something that I never could have planned for. I mean, I had all the plans going to the trip. I had my expectations of what I thought it was going to look like and feel like and be like, but the experience was truly something that I never could have planned or imagined. And I'm so glad that I finally said yes to this soul desire of mine because I held it off and I ignored it for some time, and I'll get into that during my sharing here. But you might be wondering, why Bali? Why did you decide to get your yoga certification in the first place? And let's reverse a little bit here. So back in college, I experienced a lot of anxiety. I would wake up on a daily basis already feeling anxious, and that was just my norm. Honestly, I didn't know that there could be another reality. Just waking up in an already dysregulated state, I just thought that was the norm. You know, the day hasn't even begun yet. I'm already anxious. I'm already worried. My mind was just filled with all sorts of worries. And I really couldn't find my inner center, my inner Zen. And so my anxiety led me to discovering yoga because I wanted to discover, is there a way I could self-heal? Is there a way that I could create this inner harmony within that I'm looking for? Because it did get to a point where I was like, I don't know if I could live my life like this any longer. I don't want to. I want to make some shifts. I want to make some changes. And I'm not saying that this is going to be something that's going to work for every single one of you who experience anxiety out there. I know I've tried many other tools, not just yoga. And for some, yoga may be it. Yoga may be the one that changes everything. In my journey, I have tried medication and that just did not work for me. And I'm not a mental health professional whatsoever, but in our journeys, we're going to learn things along the way that is most aligned for us, that is most aligned in our paths. And so yoga was really the first tool, spiritual practice that I dove into. It allowed me to really get present with the anxiety. It allowed me to get present with my body. It allowed me to open myself up to a whole new door of presence and divine energy. It opened me up to this connection with my higher self. You know, my anxiety led me to Bali and getting my yoga certification. So I have so much thanks for it, actually. I've found gratitude in the pain, in the challenge, in the obstacle. I experienced a lot of panic attacks, and especially with COVID, during COVID, my anxiety was at an all-time high. I had pins and needles. I was literally numb. I could not feel anything in my body, anything that I touched. My practice didn't start that way. It didn't start as a spiritual practice. I viewed yoga as something that was completely fitness at first, and then it really cultivated into this understanding that it is so much more than that, it's beyond that, and it's really connecting the mind, body, and spirit, the mind, body, and soul. My first time ever practicing yoga, it wasn't like an instant falling in love with it, wanting to practice it daily, and was just so amazed. I was in college at the time, and I decided to go to our college gym with my friend, and they had a yoga class there. And I remember walking in the class, and everybody was so silent and quiet, and they were in their meditation postures. And I could just remember looking at my friend and being like, what do we get ourselves into? I didn't really understand it, and we were honestly, the whole time, we were trying to keep in our giggles. And I don't know, there's just something about silence at the time where I just wanted to laugh. The whole time we were trying to keep in our giggles, and we let out a few, and I walked out the class. I don't know about my friend, but I walked out the class feeling completely embarrassed, and I kind of just forgot about it after that. And then maybe a couple of months after that, I was like, you know what, maybe I should give this yoga a try. And so I didn't go into a studio at first. That sense of curiosity really grew, and I remember going onto YouTube, typing up yoga for beginners, and stumbling upon yoga with Adriene, or yoga with Adriene. And I remember her little dog Benji was in the thumbnail, and I just felt drawn to them. And when I opened up her first video and practiced with her, I could just really feel her love for yoga. And her energy was just so calming and grounding. It brought in her authentic self into the space. And it just made me feel really, really safe in my practice. And it was like an open invitation for me to start to bring my authenticity into my practice as well. And the more that I practiced and showed up on the mat again and again and again, her love for yoga really, it was like a little string coming from the phone and into my heart. And I started to really feel this deep love for yoga as well. I felt a difference in my energy from the start of the practice to the end of the practice. There was a shift. And soon I began to learn how to integrate what I learned on the mat into my daily life, that integration piece. I cannot thank my younger self enough, honestly. Yoga connected me with different parts of myself. It connected me not only with my higher self and source, but it began to connect me with even the younger parts of myself. And I began to have so much love and compassion and acceptance for this little girl. And I brought her with me to Bali, and it's just like the very first time in my life where I felt truly at home. I just like pictured her there as well, and what she would think, what she would feel. And I just knew that we together, all the different versions of myself, were meant to be there. I heard my very first intuitive nudge and that intuitive voice back in college when I was in education at this point. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I remember walking home from class and going to this parking lot and hearing in my voice, it said, go to Bali, get your yoga certification. And I remember just like having full body goosebumps and chills. I knew that that was going to happen. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So I practiced for home for a couple of years before I actually joined a studio. And when Cooper and I moved to Colorado Springs, I found this one donation-based studio called Cambio Yoga. So the reason why I decided to join a studio was because I was really searching for that sense of community, because when you practice at home versus at a studio, there's a very different energy there. When you're at your home, you're in your own energetic presence and energy field, but when you're practicing with a group of like-minded people and meditating together, doing breath work together, yoga together, of course, it's going to have a whole different energy. And I was seeking that. I wanted to know that difference and see, is this something that I would enjoy going to a studio? If not, I could just go back to, practicing at home, but I was curious about it. And so when we went to Colorado Springs, I found this yoga studio. And this was something that I really looked forward to after work. And I just looked forward to meeting with the yoga instructors and with the community there. I would just try a whole bunch of different styles of yoga, like power, gentle yoga. They offered hot yoga as well. And on Wednesday nights, this is my absolute favorite class, they had vinyasa and yin combo class. And this instructor was absolutely amazing. The beginning of class was devoted to vinyasa, and the other half of the class was yin. And this is when I really began to fall in love with yin. My practice really started with vinyasa and gentle yoga, but I really began to fall in love with yin. In vinyasa, you match your breath with movement. It's more dynamic and flowy. And yin is you hold poses for about 5 minutes. You really get deep into your muscle tissues and you have so much release because you're able to really settle in and surrender to the pose. And this is where I had a lot of healing work come through. I allowed myself to cry during these yoga sessions. I just fell in love with it. So I also want to get certified in yin eventually. Whenever I had that first ping that told me to go to Bali, I continued to have more pings, but I kept denying them. I kept ignoring them because I was honestly terrified. I didn't believe that I was capable of doing something like that. Me travel solo out of the country and leave my home and do this alone? What? I didn't believe it. And I also used money as an excuse for the longest time. I would say I don't have that. I don't have enough. The year leading up to that summer, I started to have even more stronger pings. And I could remember seeing the signs everywhere. It came up in conversations, it came up at the store whenever I was shopping for clothes. I would see it on the tags of clothes, Bali, Indonesia. It came up at the airport, all over my social media pages. I was seeing it daily. And then I just knew, I was like, it's coming very soon. And I could just feel, I was like, okay, I just want to fully trust and let go and surrender to this. I don't want to doubt myself anymore. And then I spent a lot of time researching a lot of the different trainings because there's many of them in Bali. I finally landed on House of Om of Amertham, really because it was immersed in the jungle, it was away from the city life, and I loved all of the experiences of the sample schedule that they had on their website. And I just felt really drawn to it. And so I trusted that. I paid in full for the training. At that moment, things started to feel very real. But it wasn't until I booked my flights where it started to feel extra real. And I was like, okay, it's happening. And as soon as I bought those flight tickets, a whole other load of fears and anxiety started to come through. I started to think about the fact that the plane was going to be over water for a very long time, 20 plus hours, and I've never flown over water for that long in my life. Maybe going to Hawaii, but I don't even really know those flights. And then I just started to really question, is this something that I can truly do? Do I have enough strength for this? Will I survive? And I just was constantly had all of these worries, and I was getting really confused and disheartened by it because I had done so much work up to this point. Other than yoga, I had dove into other spiritual tools and practices that has helped my anxiety and really connect myself to my heart space. And here this anxiety was showing up again, and I truly didn't want to go to Bali with all of these anxieties and fears. I wanted to really let them go. I didn't want to go to Bali feeling like that, feeling so nervous, so extremely anxious, in that tense, spirally, swirly kind of energy. It was very dysregulated. I wanted to come into my heart space again and fully be here. Leading up to the trip, I had read this book by Dr. Nelson, and it's The Emotion Code. And I could really feel there was a fear blockage in my heart space, a fear of the unknown, a fear of uncertainty. And I remember doing this session, and it was like instant. I had a completely different energy field, and I completely surrendered and let go and released all of the doubt, and it just vanished. I came to this realization that no matter what happened, even if the worst case scenario happened, even if I died on that flight, or something happened to me on the island and I wasn't able to come back home, at least I knew that I was truly saying yes to my soul's desires. I was going all in and doing something that made me feel truly awakened and alive and coming back home to myself. And after that, it was like, okay, if you would be okay with that, then what is to fear? So I dropped in and fully surrendered and trusted the universe. And you know what? I'm here to tell you the story. I not only survived there, but I thrived. It was truly a place where I was in touch with my soul. I was in touch with my essence and my younger parts of myself. I really began to fall even more in love with the practice and myself.